So while I was playing Elden Ring the other day, I was thinking to myself, out of all the bosses, which would be the scariest to encounter in real life? Like sure, almost all the bosses are some weird monstrosity, but
What is
obviously
that?
there's gotta be one that's the most horrifying. So today or tonight, I'm gonna be ranking all the Remembrance bosses based on who would be the scariest IRL. Mostly based off of appearance, even though I'm gonna use their powers as a way to justify their spots, but appearance is the main reason why I'm ranking. Anyways, I'm going to be ranking them in 3 categories. The first one being not scary, second being moderately scary or just creepy, and the third one being nightmare fuel. But before I get into the video, if you want to see more content like this, then be sure to like and subscribe, and if you don't, then that's fine by me. Anyways, let's start with the not scary tier, and the first person here is Mikola. Now sure, he isn't a standalone boss, but technically he's a part of a boss fight, so that's why I included him. Now in terms of powers, Mikola would definitely be on top of the list. I mean, bro can literally charm you into doing his bidding, and he could do this with a lot of people all at once. That's enough power to destroy the world. However, in terms of appearance, Mikola is literally just a damn twink. Like come on, there's absolutely nothing scary about the way he looks. And this is in his divine form. In his previous form, he was literally just a child. Like come on, that's not even scary at all. Next up we have Commander Gaius. Now if we're talking about Gaius, if he's riding that big ass boar, then yes, he would have been higher. But even then, it's literally just a boar. I promise you, if that thing stepped foot into the south, it's literally gonna get turned into a bacon and pork eat all he can, because that thing is getting cooked in no time. Also, Gaius himself is literally just an old crippled dude. I'm pretty sure no one in their right mind would get scared by him. Now to be fair, Gaius does know gravity magic because him and Radon were students of the Alabaster Lord that taught him that. But at the same time, we're not ranking them solely on powers. And even then, in the real world, the military, shit, even the police force would get rid of bro in no time. So he's not scary at all. R'Lana. R'Lana is a 7-foot tall magical baddie. Literally no one would fear her in terms of appearance. Now I know some of you might be saying that her being super tall and having the ability to wield flame and moon magic is somewhat terrifying, but let's be honest, that's literally nothing compared to what's to come on the list. Sure, I'm not gonna lie, I would be super intimidated by her if I got on her bad side, but I promise you, again, in terms of appearance, she's literally just your average WNBA player. And another thing, she would definitely have a lot of simps, so yeah, she's not scary. Renala. Just like her sister, no one would find her scary. The only thing that would be horrifying about her again is the powers. She's incredibly intelligent and she can wield glintstone magic, but apart from that, she's not scary at all. And that's it for the not scary tier. Again, these were just regular humanish bosses that most of us would just look at and laugh at. Cause let's be honest, they're not scaring anybody. And now let's move on to the moderately scary tier. And the first person here is Godfrey the First Elden Lord. Alright, let's see. He's a battle-hardened warrior, but apart from that, he's not that scary, right? Wait a minute. How tall is Godfrey? Holy shit. 13 feet. Yeah, I take it back. Godfrey is huge. Like, not Renala huge. I mean, he's literally a giant. At least in our world. Like, how did he and Marika even, Okay, that aside, his height is the main reason why I placed him here, but let's not forget his physical prowess. He has superhuman strength, agility, and durability. He was also so strong and war hungry to the point where he needed Siraj in order to contain his bloodlust. He's actually insane. And sure, you might be saying that I shouldn't be ranking them based on power, but let's be honest, bro is the power. I mean, him being super big is the reason why he's this strong. So yeah, Godfrey, while not being nightmare fuel, is definitely a moderately scary and super intimidating person to encounter. I mean, imagine getting into a bar fight with this, like, come on. Next up we have Radon, specifically the Promised Consort version. Everything I said about Godfrey applies to Radon. He's a big hulking brute of a man that's a warrior and a war general, and I'm pretty sure he's a bit taller than Godfrey as well. And let's take a look at his powers. He can manipulate and use gravity magic so efficiently to the point where he can fly and turn himself into a damn meteor. Like, come on, that is extremely intimidating. Cool, but intimidating. And again, let's not forget, bro is literally humongous. Just to give a good size comparison, it would take 2 of us to fit onto his sword. That's how tall he is. Next up we have Radagon of the Golden Order. Sure, his golden incantations are no joke, and since he's linked at the top of the Golden Order, he's literally almost a god. But the main reason why I'm placing him here is mostly because of his appearance. I mean, the stone-like body with cracks, the shadow arm, and a literal rune inside of him, all of that makes his appearance somewhat scary. Now if this was before the shattering, he would be in the not scary tier because at that point he didn't look like this. And let's be honest, bro probably looked really handsome, but now he's very creepy looking. Dancing Lion. The Divine Beast Dancing Lion on first appearance would make me shit my pants if I ever encountered it in real life, especially due to its weird movement and range of powers. But that said, once I found out that it's literally just two guys in a costume dancing around, it's no longer scary, just kinda goofy. But then again, the fact that they were possessed by an actual divine beast during this dancing ritual is kinda horrifying, and that's why I still place them here. Now here we have Melania, Blade of Mikola, and Goddess of Rot. Melania is standing at around 8 to 9 feet tall. She's missing a few limbs due to her being cursed with rot, but she makes up for them with her prosthetics. She's blind, but she seems to be able to still view her surroundings. She's an extremely skilled swordswoman who went up against the guy that can literally hold back the stars. Now in terms of powers, she uses the Scarlet Rot. This allows her to make anything in her path decay, and her powers can literally terraform a whole region. Not only that, but she can give herself to the rot and become the goddess of it. With this, she can fly, summon clones, and use the rot more proficiently. Now powers and abilities aside, just take a good look at her. Sure, her regular form might not be scary, a bit intimidating, but definitely nothing scary. However, her goddess form is definitely somewhat scary, especially when it comes onto her eyes, or lack thereof. But yeah, in real life, Melania would definitely be moderately scary. However, there's a guy that is definitely way more terrifying looking than her in terms of appearance. Morgoth the Omen King. Morgoth for sure is scarier than Melania. At least Melania looks like she could have been born with a disease or sickness that causes her limbs to rot off, but Morgoth straight up looks like a different creature. I mean, he literally has omen horns everywhere on his body, and for some reason he has a tail. And let's not forget he's gigantic, and I'm pretty sure it's stated somewhere in the lore that omens are way stronger than the average men, and they could take on a whole mini army by themselves. So yeah, bro is not only scary looking, but he would definitely be a threat in terms of strength. Now we have Star Scourge Radahn, who is way bigger and more horrifying than Promised Consort. I mean, just take a good look at this guy. First of all, he looks like a straight up monster. Unlike his younger years where he just looked like an overgrown dude, now he looks like the Hulk on steroids and crack. His eyes looks different and his skin is now gray. It's not explained lore wise on why he looks so different, but in my own headcanon, I think it's because of the amount of gravity magic he studied. Plus he can hold back the stars as well. So yeah, that aside, I don't think there's much that needs to be said. He's just scary as hell. Malekith the Black Blade. Let's not lie to ourselves. If we saw an overgrown dog man in real life, that would be horrifying. Imagine seeing this walk up to you in the alley at night. Another thing that would be somewhat creepy about Malekith is the fact that he talks. Not only that, but he's a skilled swordsman that was able to wipe out the Godskins and kill the Glowmite Queen, who was a threat to Marika herself. So he's quite powerful. Now the only reason why he ranks here and not in the Nightmare Fuel tier is because again, he's just an overgrown wolf. He's intelligent, which is scary, but this also means he can be reasoned with. And he doesn't actively go out and look for trouble. I mean, the first time we saw him was in Caelid, and we temporarily became his plug. So yeah, that's how chill he is. Now we're moving on to the Nightmare Fuel tier. These are the bosses that are just straight up terrifying to look at and would make me and a lot of people shit themselves if we ever encountered them in real life. First, let's start with Godric the Grafted. Sure, in the lore, Godric is laughable. I mean, he called out Melania only to get humbled by her, and then he had to beg for his life. He then hid among the woman folk to avoid Radahn when he was invading Limgrave. Bro is straight up a coward. But to be honest, I kind of understand where he's coming from because I would be scared of both of them too. However, in real life, Godric would be nightmare fuel. I mean, think of it like this. A man that grafted limbs onto his own body and those said limbs became usable when grafted. Like, come on, that is straight out of a horror movie. Also, he's probably the only boss that I've mentioned so far that is actually like really evil. So it's not like any of us would be safe. I think I placed him at the right place because I think Godric would be a terrifying person to encounter IRL. Next up, we have Mesmer the Impaler. I know some people watching this are wondering why I placed Mesmer this high, especially compared to Melania and Radahn. You see, appearance wise, Mesmer in my opinion is more nightmare fuel than both of those guys. Sure, Radahn is gigantic and Melania is rotted, but just the appearance of Mesmer alone just screams horror villain. I mean, sure, at first glance he's just a creepy looking guy with snakes, until he takes off his clothes and rip his eye out, only to realize that he has a literal serpent god inside of him, which means he can not only summon giant snakes out of nowhere, but he can can also transform into one, which makes being on Mesmer's bad side even more terrifying. Speaking about being on his bad side, this man is capable of mass genocide. Sure, he also needed an army to pull this off, but he was able to take out multiple divine beasts on his own, which were the top tier warriors of the Horn Scent. His firepower is also an intimidation factor as well. So all in all, this guy is truly like nightmare fuel. I don't care what nobody say. Putrescent Knight. An undead decaying horseman is absolutely horrifying. Like, imagine seeing this guy while walking into the forest at night or something. He's also able to wield fire magic, which definitely bumps up his ranking a little. Mohg, the Lord of Blood. Mohg straight up looks like a demon. Sure, him and Morgoth are twins, but at least Morgoth can pass as a, extremely rare birth defected person, while Mohg on the other hand straight up looks like he's from the pits of hell itself. He's also extremely huge and can wield blood magic, so obviously he's gonna be super high on the list. Romina, Saint of the Bud. Romina was once a part of a church. Now we don't know if she was the priestess of the church or maybe she was just a member, but on an unfortunate day, her church fell victim to one of Mesmer's crusade, and because of this, she reached out to the outer god of Rot to grant her powers. And it actually did, but it also disfigured her in the meantime, making her look like Quelaag's distant cousin. Her powers includes, well, Rot is the same as Malenia's, only not on her level. Now her appearance is the most horrifying thing about her. She's a giant flower looking lady with a scorpion underbody. Let's be honest, she would be straight up nightmare fuel in real life, and again she's also super poisonous, which adds on to the horror. Regal Ancestor Spirit. If a giant zombified deer that's the size of a building shooting magical essence at you isn't terrifying, then trust me, I don't know what is, because I guess you're just Mr. Tough Guy, I guess. I mean, look at this thing. I don't even think I have to explain myself anymore. Cause imagine you're walking into a forest, and I don't know why I keep bringing up a forest, but whatever. Just imagine seeing this thing. Shit, I'm running the opposite direction as fast as possible. I don't care. Shadow Tree Avatar. A giant beast like Sunflower. Yeah, this thing is frightening as shit. Of course I'm gonna rank it pretty high. Midra, the Lord of Chaos. Midra would be nightmare fuel. First of all, just going by appearance only, he literally has a ball of chaos flame as his head. His presence alone would make anyone's blood run cold. His abilities and behavior are factors why he ranks this high. He can wield Chaos Flame, which can not only destroy everything it touches but also causes anyone afflicted by it to go mad. His behavior is somewhat creepy as well, as his movement is very irregular. Despite his disturbing appearance, he moves gracefully, which definitely adds to his unnerving presence. Encountering or hearing about Midra in real life would cause a psychological impact on the world. Most people would be questioning where he's from and what the hell he even is. So yeah, that's why Midra is horrifying, and that's why I placed him at the 9th spot. Elden Beast. Elden Beast is terrifying due to its otherworldly nature, but in a weird way it is also beautiful, but again super terrifying. Similar to Midra, if it existed in the real world, most people would fear it. Now let's talk about Estelle, natural born of the void. Imagine facing an otherworldly creature with a gigantic insectoid body and a grotesque eerie face that seems to come straight out of a H.P. Lovecraft book. Estelle's presence is enough to make anyone's skin crawl. His abilities are also terrifying, with the power to summon meteors and create black holes. Encountering him in real life would be a deeply unsettling experience. The combination of its alien appearance and terrifying cosmic powers would invoke the fear of the unknown within a person. Fortisax. You might find it strange that I put Fortisax over Estelle, but just hear me out. Fortisax appearance wise is not as scary as Estelle, but its destructive power is what I fear the most. But before I go any further, I did say that power wasn't going to play a big role in the ranking, but for the dragons, I have to make an exception. You see, most dragons including Fortisax possesses way more destructive power compared to Estelle. While it seems that Estelle can only travel short distances, I don't think he would be able to destroy an entire city on his own, but Fortisax on the other ancient dragons could easily tear up any major city in the real world in no time. And let's not forget, he's literally a death dragon that can shoot fire and lightning. Like, come on now, that is crazy. Bale. I mean, it's a dragon that has the powers to destroy cities easily. Of course it's gonna be high. Plus, for some reason, Bale looks the most evil out of all the ancient dragons. Plasujasax. Plasujasax would invoke the same fear into people just like the previous two dragons would, except that Plasujasax is bigger and has multiple heads. And since he was literally the Dragon Lord, I have to place him higher than the other dragons due to his powers and abilities. Now we're here at the top 3. So these are the top 3 most scariest bosses in Elden Ring. And at third place we have Fire Giant. The Fire Giant's around 80 feet tall according to Google, and he has a humanoid build with red locks, and the creepiest thing about him is the giant face in the middle of his body. It might seem weird to place the Fire Giant over Plasudasax and the other dragons because they're way more destructive in power and their ability to fly makes them more deadly. However, the Fire Giant's appearance is way more freakish compared to them. I mean, at least the dragons could pass off as government experiments, but the Fire Giant just straight up looks like something from a nightmare. First of all, just look at the freakish looking face on his chest. Come on, that is straight up horrifying. The Fire Giant can also use a variety of flame-based powers granted him by his outer god, so yeah, I think third place is the right spot for him. Meteor, Mother of Fingers. I don't think this placement needs much explanation. I mean, just take one good look at her. Her appearance is just terrifying. It's literally a being made out of fingers that has cosmic powers as well. Whoever came up with this design needs to be checked into an asylum, because who the hell just comes up with something like this? Like, bro, you gotta be high or something. But I feel like the main reason why I placed her this high is because, like, why is she made out of so much fingers? Like, what? I think that's the most creepiest thing about her. If you have like some weird finger phobia, then she would be like your worst nightmare. But now you might be wondering, who is scarier and more terrifying than Meteor? Well, obviously Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy. Rykard was just a regular man who was the son of Radagon and Queen Renala. To get stronger, Rykard decided to feed himself to the god-devouring serpent in hopes of being immortal. He did become immortal, but at the cost of him looking like whatever the fuck this is. Imagine facing a monstrous figure fused with a giant serpent, blending human and snake features. Rykard's snake-like body and terrifying face are straight out of a nightmare. Not only that, but he has fire-based powers, and his sword literally has countless remains fused onto it. His appearance and powers aren't the only thing scary about him, as his voice sounds sick and twisted. I've fought many bosses throughout the whole Souls games, and none of them were as scary and horrifying as Rykard in appearance. Rykard's overall hellish and grotesque look makes him, in my opinion, the most terrifying looking boss in Elden Ring, and if I ever saw him in real life, I would definitely shit myself. So that was it for which Elden Ring boss would be the scariest in real life. Remember, I was just mostly ranking them based on appearance and only using their powers as a way to justify their placement sometimes. And another thing, this video was just for fun, please don't take it seriously. Obviously what I consider scary is going to be different from another person. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more like this, then be sure to hit like and subscribe. If you don't, then that's fine by me. Before I go, I want to shout out my paid Patreon members, David Scotland and Jaboni Jones. Thank you for the support, and thanks to those who are watching this video as well. Anyways, I hope you have a good one.